I really think it's really nice to be a tight-knit company. And I also think that as a tight-knit company, I think things run faster. Like, I don't want to get to the point where things are heavy to move. You want to keep them going fast, and you want the quick action and the ability to keep up with the pace of the industry and even beat it.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Let's talk about gaming. Meet Keren Marom, the co-founder and chief operating officer of Beachbum. Keren is a co-founder and COO of Beachbum, a social gaming company. Keren was born and raised in New York to Israeli parents and decided at the age of 22, following her studies, to move to Israel on her own. Family is still in New York. She has a pre-law BA degree and a master's in business administration MBA from New York. Keren manages Beachbum's operations, including its HR, finance, legal, as well as its marketing activities. Keren Marom, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Talking about social games, online games, looking at an industry that is evolving in such a fast pace that I can't begin to keep track. Beach Bum is such a cool company. I've gotten to play some of the games myself, and I'm already addicted. And I can only try to speculate what it's like being a co-founder, initially chief revenue officer, transitioning to chief operating officer, after also having held really important positions in some fantastic organizations prior to this. Lots of things to talk about. But Ken, before we even dive into Beach Bum and the whole story there, if you're thinking through your own career and your own trajectory, how do you define it? How do you think through your career?
I think first of all, I think where I came from. I'm American, born and raised, moved to Israel at the age of 22 after I did my second degree in MBA. And I was searching for myself. It's very hard at that point to know what you really want to do. And I decided to jump into marketing. I started off in high tech, but offline marketing, which was nice, but not exciting because when you can't really measure things, it's a little bit more frustrating. And then I joined a company.
What does that mean, offline marketing? Is that billboards and direct mail and stuff like that?
Yeah, more like a conference where you're going and you're proactively selling and it's less measurable. You have also entirely, going to different companies, trying B2B, but not through the typical online channels. So after that, I felt like it was time to move on, and I joined a company where I was the first employee, a company called Matomi. And I was the first employee they hired, and I was there for 10 years. So if I look at my career path, It was amazing to be, it was really an adventure. And to see how a company, which I really believed in, and it was the entire issue that I had with the previous company of being offline, suddenly someone's pitching me how it can be measured. And so I joined early on, and we grew the company really nicely, different mergers, different acquisitions. A year there felt like really like 5. And so when I left there after a while, I felt, it's really nice to be on the media side and you learn a lot. But I was ready to go to the product side and really feel the actual marketing activity and see the entire funnel of what the impact is on the company, on the product. And so I joined Beachbum in 2015, where it was just an idea that Gigi and Ori founded the company, implementing this idea of going into head-to-head games in the traditional board game sector, right? So it was maybe the least sexy when it comes to all the types of games out there, right? There's, social casino and many different activities that are going on. But here we really took the excitement of social games and we brought them into the traditional offline games in a digital version. And
So if we're
to
looking
be
back
honest
at
with you,
2015, how do you synthesize through the thesis of what you were coming up with? You're looking at these offline games that are casual, they're social, and what is sort of the thesis around them as you're positioning Beach Bum as a company?
I would say the thesis is that there are so many games companies out there that generate, that are profitable, and they don't have nearly the excitement or the user experience coming into them as the exciting versions and the exciting categories of gaming that we all know and love.
Mm.
And so we revived them in a way that made it more than just a backgammon game. You come in, you go into this whole ecosystem where you have the whole gaming experience. And starting with that, also head to head is very challenging. Most of these games most of them, I would say, are versus a computer. So you lose the excitement of the social channel and playing against your friend. And really, we've seen so much of the activity. That was the number one request before we had the Play with Friends feature. That was the number one request of all players of all of our games. And so we really wanted to take advantage of that niche and run forward. And we showed ourselves that even the targets that we thought we could reach were lowballing. We can do so much more.
Now, that's a perfect segue, I think, to my predicament. You're coming in as a co-founder and chief revenue officer. You're finding yourself now at this inflection point where you're starting to develop these games. What is sort of the role of a chief revenue officer at that moment? How do you know which KPIs to set? How do you know how high you should aim, and how do you know whether you're reaching the milestones that you're even setting for yourself, whether they're too high, too low, or just about right?
Such a good question. In general, when I first started out, it was really running the business side, making sure that we maximize the revenue, that we can really find ways to bring the return on ad spend quicker, see the whole funnel of users, how we can analyze things and understand where we're losing them, how do we boost retention, all the KPIs, the typical gaming KPIs, DAO, MAU, ARPDAO. You want to make sure you have the highest average revenue per daily active user. It's a whole Bible of all these different acronyms. And basically the idea is really to find a way it's just like any other app, right? You want to keep the users, you want to keep them for as long as you can. And that's also part of, as per your prior question, the thesis, that's the idea of these games. The retention of these games is very high over the long run. They're not just here for a month and leaving. We have users from 2016 who are still in the app and even more active than they were in 2016. So it's really nice.
Incredible.
And the role at the time was really monitoring the whole function of the game, right? Seeing the game economy, seeing the user flow, making sure the CRM side is interesting enough for users to keep going with us. Making sure that, connecting between the tech and the marketing. And over time, that position definitely evolved. We've become more savvy on the analytics side. We've become more savvy on many different areas. I think we were all handpicked, right? Everyone came with a different background and a different history, so that together we really made up a really strong team.
And so walk me through, if you, as much as you can remember, 2015, it's a long time ago. What does the day to day look like for a co-founder and chief revenue officer of a gaming company? You wake up, you come to the office. What do you do as a chief revenue officer?
Uh, okay, well, I came from my previous role. I'm a very fast-paced individual. Okay, so I like action. I like being super busy, and going into a startup again is very different pace. Because on one hand, you want to run really, really fast. On the other hand, I remember discussions with my previous CEO telling him I'm not used to this pace. I like running faster because suddenly you're dependent on the product being live in order for you to actually have the job to do. So really in the very beginning, it was was just setting up the infrastructure, getting ready to market things, getting ready with the user experience, even within the app, preparing the whole funnel with the messaging to the new users before they come, and you're just waiting for this baby to be born and you're still pregnant. So so you're just waiting. And overall, it was definitely challenging, but quickly, like fast, you very quickly get into the mood and into the hang of things, and you basically really just prepare the ground. You're an all-around player at that time. We had organization, it was very organized on the one hand. We knew the core roles that we needed to fill, and much of my time went towards HR and building the team. Who do we want in order to run the analytics, to run the CRM, and all these different key roles. And so, basically, you're just running in any direction that you looking forward at the vision, what will help you get there. Whether it's something from purchasing the domain of the name of the game that you want to hiring a CEO who we didn't have at the time.
Amazing. And so, if you're looking at the next 6 years, fast forward, we know where Beach Bum is today, and the incredible success that's going on over there. Nearly 200 employees and creating some fantastic games with amazing engagement and retention. What happened there? If you're looking back, what are some of the big milestones for Beach Bum, and how did you experience them as the company grew?
I think the biggest milestones are definitely, the number one would be the team coming together. Whether it's Uri and Gigi coming up with, Uri Shachak, who's a Playtika founder, Gigi Levy, who many people definitely heard, he was a Playtika investor and an angel investor. And basically it was their starting point, bringing us on board, myself, Shachar and Gili, who were basically their, I guess, Uri said he wanted to be the grandfather of the company, right? Because after exiting with Playtika, I think he wanted to be a beach bum himself. And so we basically got the authority to run forward and make it work. And definitely the milestone was actually bringing the outsourced technology in-house, finding a way to have the three of us work really close together and run forward. Additional milestones are definitely the investments where, you get to the point where you have to make decisions. Do we push this product even more? In gaming, you could be very profitable if you don't do marketing, right? But you're not looking necessarily for the long term. So when you see that you can return a certain percentage of the marketing spend within a few months, then you just want to run. And so you need to get more fuel. So the investments were definitely a milestone. Having a really strong, tight board made up of Ori, Gigi, and two of our major investors, 83 North and Saban Ventures. So that was something that was really good. Having the freedom to run and do what we thought was best. Every game launch is a milestone, and it's an exciting day. I remember every day we launched a new game. Also, we try to make the milestones, the small wins. With all of our running, we need to really stop and enjoy every time we hit a new target or a new peak in the game's revenue. And so basically, we just keep running. And obviously, the acquisition is a huge milestone, which we're really proud of.
And so, when you used to release the games, did anything happen in the offices, or what was sort of the vibe? I want to try to be there. What happened during those days when you were releasing those games?
Oh, it was really exciting. In the beginning, I remember, we walked in, we had all of us in the office and all the excitement, and we would we would set up head to head. So you want to have many people in the game. So we would set up, we would just sit and play. The whole office would just sit and play. And we'd get very excited when we saw, friends of ours come online, and suddenly we would play against them because, when you started out and you don't have marketing, then most of the friends and family are the ones who come out on the first day. We had set hours that we told our friends and family to come on and play so that they can get the hang of it. I remember the day when a friend of mine came over my house. We had a set hour to do it, and she went suddenly against the customer support rep. So she got so excited. It's this wow factor to see someone play against someone they know. And besides that, I think it was just really the excitement of seeing it actually pan out, seeing them go through every KPI, playing the game, sticking to the game. When we had someone purchasing and they put in, $5, we got so excited. And when we had someone put in $100, we said we got our first whale. And it's just really seeing things for the first time and seeing everything you've been working towards happen.
I love it, and I love how you're describing it so systematically, and that there was a lot of intentionality, and goes back to what you said a few minutes ago about celebrating those small wins, and looking at
Mhm.
those small wins and celebrating them company wide, and being really intentional about the way that you're interacting with them. Fast forward a few years, you're selling to Francis Voodoo for $500 million, which is an incredible milestone, not just for Beach Bum, but for the Israel ecosystem as a whole, and with an amazing journey. What was, if you're looking back now about yourself and you as a leader and as an entrepreneur, what were some non-trivial things that you learned about leadership and about either your own style of leadership or leadership that you've observed, company wide in any facet, that it's not trivial, that you didn't really expect it coming into this journey?
I think there was a lot. I learned a lot. I learned that, first of all, it's important to be an all around player in the beginning. And I think over time, it's really important to delegate and find the right people who have the responsibility over every single field that you need to focus on. I think the growth from a startup to a larger company, right? I come from a startup that turned into corporate world. And if you ask me, the most fun is the startup phase. Um, but when you go into the corporate world or into the larger company phase, you really need to consider how to maintain the company's culture and how to maintain, the vibes and the family atmosphere, even as you grow, and take care of every single employee, because the employees are really what, as cliche as it sounds, right? They're really what makes the company.
Was that a
Um,
topic of conversation about how to retain the culture and the mindset of an early stage company as you're growing and growing?
Definitely. We brought an organizational consultant in at some point when we got to about
Huh,
110 people. We really wanted to. I always say I feel like I'm in Catcher in the Rye, the book. I don't know if you read it, where he's trying to stop the
of
people from
course.
falling off. So I'm trying to keep us in this small atmosphere where everything is, you walk in, you don't walk in without saying good morning, and you walk in and you meet people at the coffee area, and you get excited to sit lunch, with different people. So I really think it's really nice to be a tight knit company. And I also think that as a tight knit company, I think things run faster. Like, I don't want to get to the point where things are heavy to move. You want to keep them going fast, and you want the quick action and the ability to keep up with the pace of the industry and even beat it, right?
Was this entrepreneurial bug also always a part of you, joining your previous company's first employee, and joining this company as a co-founder? Were you always, even at 22 when you came and you entered into the marketing world, was this always sort of the strategy and the vision that you want to be a core part of new companies?
I think I acquired it over time. Initially, I think in Matomi, I didn't expect it to be as long of a ride as it was. When I looked back at those 10 years, yeah, when I looked back at those 10 years, I enjoyed mostly when we were small, or when I started, there I also opened a China branch and an India branch. And that was the excitement of really building something and seeing the impact of what you're doing. So once I left there, I realized how much I enjoy it, and there's nothing more rewarding than looking back and seeing what you've done, and also, of course, looking forward and knowing that it can get so much bigger. But
Incredible.
I mean, if you ask me now, there's definitely in my, for me, there's a great deal of excitement in creating.
Keren, I want to just thank you for these 20 minutes of just pleasure and such a fun conversation about entrepreneurship and about this amazing journey that you were on, multiple journeys that you were on, and the huge you know success at the end, not just the acquisition and not just the milestones, but for me, just it seems like this journey was such a joyous one that was so intentional with so many small celebrations, not just waiting for the end result, but really enjoying the ride and enjoying the $5 first purchase and the first time a user
Yeah.
engaged with the product and the first time you saw somebody that you knew is also playing the game that's not your family or close friend. And so I think that's just those are the moments that I wish for myself when I'll go on my own journey. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time here.
And
And
it's just the beginning,
and I
right?
can't wait.
We still have a long
It's
journey.
just the beginning. I love it. תודה רבה, קרן.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.